Hi, this is Professor McLaughlin with an introductory video before we get into the book chapter video lectures. I wanted to give you what I think are just some foundational concepts when you're taking any kind of law class that will help, even though many of you have already taken quiz 1, potentially quiz 2, but I think this will help moving forward. So, understanding what law is in general, what law is attempting to do. It is, in the United States, an attempt to provide guidance and order to society at multiple levels, at the federal government level, the state level, we have a county level, the city level, and have that guidance have impact. So if you don't comply, you could either be arrested if it's a criminal offense, or you could be sued. And the whole purpose is to ostensibly, presumably, idealistically, create structure and order so that when there is non-compliance, there is also a mechanism for addressing that. So a large part of what law does is to provide opportunities to resolve disputes either through litigation or with real estate, because many real estate contracts have arbitration clauses, through arbitration and mediation. And then to define, the law helps define what happens after the resolution of that dispute at whatever level. And for real estate agents and real estate brokers, real estate law also helps define activities within the profession. So it's your duties, but also your rights as well. In general, we find sources of law at multiple levels: constitutional law, the federal government and the state government; statutory law, which are the codes, code provisions; common law, which are the cases, and you'll be reading cases. These are the cases, and we're going to understand how in our common law system, common law refers to case law, and then administrative law, which is all the agencies that regulate us on a daily basis and regulate us as business people and regulate us as citizens. So constitutional law exists at both levels. It can impact property law and real estate law if there's a constitutional issue there. And constitutional law isn't meant to make everything clear and fine and dandy. The Supreme Court of each state can handle those constitutional law questions, and the Supreme Court of the United States handles all across the board constitutional law questions. But we see with things like cannabis law, it's not solving all our problems. So the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law. Federalism is this idea that you have, you as a citizen, you as a human are regulated, citizenry aside, are regulated at the federal level and also at the state level. And I put up this citation to Arizona v. United States because in 2012, the state of Arizona tried to regulate immigration, which is reserved to the federal government. The states cannot get involved in immigration law. And so that was a U.S. Supreme Court case. And we mentioned that constitutional law is at the federal and the state level. Statutory law is everywhere at the federal and the state level. But federal statutory law impacts us differently. I would say our primary focus is going to be state statutory law, because as we function within the state of California, those code provisions impact us more readily. Really, federal law, federal statutory law is like federal crimes, and those are larger, different kinds of crimes. So common law is case law. Each time a case is decided by the courts at a local level, it and then gets appealed and potentially goes to the state Supreme Court. Those cases need to be followed by other cases, and they help us, by reading those cases, they help us understand how the law is interpreted. Our system of government is based on the English law and Anglo-American law, impacts most countries that England colonized, and typically, whoever the colonial power was, that territory now, or that area, typically historically adopts that area of that legal system. But common law is defined by this idea of stare decisis, or precedent, where each case must be followed. Once a case is decided, subsequent decisions must follow it. And so maybe the most well-known, or one well-known case, is all the discussion about Roe v. Wade and reproductive rights and subsequent decisions, and how potentially a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court as it is constituted today could impact this idea that Roe v. Wade tells us about reproductive rights, and yet there may be a decision where it is overruled, and that it comports perfectly with our concept of common law and how it is followed until a court overrules it or a legislature passes another law. So we saw with same-sex marriage that some states were allowing it, some states were not, and the Defense of Marriage Act contradicted with it until the U.S. Supreme Court declared that same-sex marriage was legal, and then all those other disconnects went away. That has not happened with cannabis, though. You can see through some of the concerns of cannabis businesses where they're federally illegal under the Controlled Substances Act, but they may operate legally within the state, that it provides a lot of problems from a business law perspective. Case precedent is just another way of talking about stare decisis and this unique approach that common law systems have. The final source of law that's really important for us to understand is administrative law. We don't refer to administrative law as code. We typically refer to that as regulations. And here, think about the California Environmental Protection Agency, the IRS at the federal level, the Franchise Tax Board at the state level, and OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, where, and now with COVID, the public health orders and different types of rules that are coming out and regulations and things we need to follow that aren't being necessarily passed by the legislature. The law loves categories, which is why I provided you with outlines. I hope to remember to continue to provide you outlines for each chapter. Please let me know if I forget. But your categories of law, the law loves categories. And so if that fits with how you think about things, great, then this reading law and reading the chapters regarding law may be a natural fit for you. But this concept that it's fitting into categories, I would say it comports a little bit with how some physical sciences are and how some life sciences are, where you'll have a particular category, a particular species, and things fit under that. Law is very much like that as well. We have criminal law and civil law, two totally different areas. Civil laws are really what we're talking about with real estate law, but we want to remember that there may be criminal punishments for civil crimes. Criminal law sits over here also. So thank you for sticking with me through this foundational video, and I look forward to seeing you online.